Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The Curse of Oak Island. X marks the spot for Ark of the Covenant at Nolan's Cross. The Curse of Oak Island has found 3 possible locations where the Ark of the Covenant may be buried at Nolan's Cross, and they've already started digging. Also on this week's Oak Island, another artifact further linked both the Vikings and Templar Knights to the island, and there was a major crisis at the garden shaft. Researcher John Edwards was back in the war room, with 3 X marks the spot locations. He is convinced that Nolan's Cross is part of a larger monument made in the shape of an ancient Jewish and Christian symbol known as the tree. John identified 3 spots along the main axis of Nolan's Cross where he suspects the Ark of the Covenant may be buried. The locations were all on Tom Nolan's land, but he quickly suggested that the guys start digging in the area. Billy Gerhardt and Jack Begley wasted no time and soon found a large boulder near one of the spots on the north side of the swamp. The boulder had no natural reason to be there, having been clearly placed there by human hands. Billy and Jack decided they would need to consult geoscientist Ian Spooner before going any further, which means we'll have to wait until at least next week to learn more. However, it was a fantastic start to examining John Edwards' work. Viking artifact found on Oak Island is linked to Templar Knights. Meanwhile, more evidence mounted of a 13th century collaboration between Templar Knights and Vikings to bury treasure on the island. Historian Doug Crowell has been examining a copper artifact found last year on Lot 8. The object in question had a metallic composition that suggested a Scandinavian origin, leading the guys to believe it was a decorative Viking plate. Doug has identified 2 symbols on the object that match symbols found on an ancient manuscript from Iceland. This manuscript was a Viking document related to astronomy and astrology. Incredibly, Doug said he'd found the same symbols on an astrolabe, a medieval device used to track the stars, sun, and moon, and was also used as a navigational tool. Doug claimed these devices were also used by the Templar Knights. The implication here is that both the Vikings and the Templars were using the same technology to navigate the globe. This news follows previous theories that the Templars and Vikings developed a relationship while on a crusade in Jerusalem in the 12th century that later led them to take ancient Christian relics to Oak Island. While on the island, the 2 groups built Nolan's Cross to act as a marker for their descendants to find the treasure. Have the team breached a flood tunnel at the garden shaft? Also on last night's show, the Dumas guys began horizontal drilling at 97 feet. They were hoping to follow the old tunnel toward the baby blob. However, the guys suddenly had to flee the shaft when a leak suddenly occurred, causing salty water to flow in at a terrific rate. The drill and 2 levels of the shaft were quickly covered in water. This obviously brought work to a crashing halt. But it might not be all bad news. This could be a flood tunnel, which means the guys are actually close to the treasure. This is a problem that has plagued searchers for 200 years, but they didn't have the advanced technology the Lagina brothers have at their disposal. On a fog-laden morning, the island known as Oak Island was quiet, except for the faint hum of the Atlantic waves lapping against its shores. The mist clung to the land like an ancient ghost, swirling through the twisted pines and around the crevices of the boulders. This island, a place long steeped in mystery and tales of hidden treasure, seemed to breathe with a life of its own. But it wasn't the island itself that drew explorers here, it was what lay beneath. For more than 2 centuries, fortune seekers, historians, and adventurers alike have been drawn to Oak Island, spurred on by legends of untold riches. Gold doubloons, the lost Templar treasure, and even the fabled Ark of the Covenant were whispered to rest in the dark depths of the island. These rumors only deepened with every failed dig, every caved-in tunnel, and every strange artifact uncovered. But for all the speculation, one feature stood out above all: Nolan's Cross, a massive stone formation that had intrigued treasure hunters for years. Composed of 5 large boulders, aligned perfectly to form a cross, Nolan's Cross was no ordinary rock formation. It was a marker, a signpost left by a long-forgotten hand. The treasure hunters believed it to be a clue, perhaps the most significant one, pointing toward the ultimate secret of Oak Island. Many had combed the island, using the stones as navigational markers, but none had cracked the mystery. That was until now. Rick and Marty Lagima, the latest in a long line of Oak Island explorers, stood at the foot of one of the stones. Rick gazed thoughtfully at the towering monolith while Marty examined the intricate carvings etched into its surface. "We've been going about this wrong," Rick finally said, breaking the silence. Marty looked up. "What do you mean?" Rick turned to his brother, his eyes gleaming with the fervor of discovery. "We've been thinking of Nolan's Cross as a map leading us to one location, but what if it's not just one spot? What if it's a series of locations? What if each stone is connected to something larger?" Marty raised an eyebrow. "You're saying the cross itself is a guide to something even bigger?" Rick nodded, his excitement palpable. "Exactly. Think about it. The cross, it's a symbol that has been used for centuries by different cultures. The Knights Templar, who are said to have hidden the Ark of the Covenant, use the cross. What if Nolan's Cross is their final marker?" Marty's skepticism wavered as he considered the possibility. They had spent years chasing after clues, digging through centuries of misinformation and red herrings, but this theory, it felt different. It felt right. Armed with renewed determination, the brothers gathered their team. Using high-tech ground-penetrating radar, they mapped out the land around Nolan's Cross. As the equipment hummed and beeped, a pattern began to emerge. Beneath the cross was an intricate network of tunnels and chambers, some of which extended far deeper than they had ever anticipated. But it was what lay in the very center of the cross that sent a chill down their spines. The radar picked up a large rectangular object buried deep beneath the central boulder. Its dimensions were oddly reminiscent of something they had only read about in historical texts: the Ark of the Covenant. "This can't be real," Marty whispered, his voice hushed as the realization sank in. But it was. The radar scans didn't lie. What was beneath them was enormous, ancient, and out of place. Could it truly be the Ark, the sacred artifact that held the 10 Commandments and the power of God himself? It was almost too much to believe, but Oak Island had always been a place where the impossible seemed plausible. As the team began preparations to dig, the air around them seemed to crackle with an unseen energy. The island had a way of reacting when one got too close to its secrets, and the brothers knew they were on the brink of something monumental. With every shovelful of earth removed, the weight of history pressed down upon them. Hours passed, then days. The deeper they dug, the more they uncovered: fragments of ancient wood, shards of pottery, and strange metallic objects that didn't belong in this part of the world. And then finally, they hit stone. A massive slab, perfectly cut and engraved with symbols that none of them could decipher. This was the entrance to whatever lay beneath Nolan's Cross. With the slab removed, the entrance to a cavernous chamber was revealed. The air inside was thick and stale, as if it hadn't been disturbed for centuries. Their flashlights flickered as they descended into the darkness, revealing walls adorned with carvings, crosses, angels, and cryptic symbols. At the far end of the chamber stood a stone altar, and atop it, covered in layers of dust and time, was a golden chest. Rick and Marty stood frozen in awe. There was no mistaking it. The chest, with its intricate gold filigree, was unlike anything they had ever seen. It radiated a sense of reverence, as though it were more than just an artifact. It was a relic of unimaginable power.